Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. For closed captioning, please click the CC Live transcript button in your Zoom control panel. I believe you'll see a notice at the bottom of your screen. And with that bit of housekeeping out of the way, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Susan Savage, CEO and majority owner of the Sacramento River Cats and Sutter Health Park. As chair of the Sacramento Host Committee this year, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the first ever virtual host breakfast. You know, it doesn't take a baseball fan to know a curveball when you see one. And that's what 2020 threw at all of us. Not only our state, but the entire world experienced an unprecedented shutdown with disastrous consequences. For the first time in the 95-year history of the host breakfast, COVID forced us to cancel the event. And we'd hoped to resume the breakfast in person this year, yet our return to normalcy is just beginning. But we are thrilled to continue our tradition with this virtual event. To open, please enjoy the presentation of colors and welcome the California Joint Color Guard, accompanied by the United States Air Force Band of the Golden West Sierra Winds. Our national anthem will be performed by Paul Benavides. You'll notice we recorded this video at Sutter Health Park, the beautiful home of the Sacramento River Cats. Paul, that was beautiful. You might not know, but Paul is one of Northern California's most sought-after male vocalists. Originally from Las Cruces, New Mexico, he moved to California in 1997 to join the legendary Latin rock group Malo as lead vocalist. When he's not touring, he enjoys spending time with family, camping, and fishing. Now, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, the host committee recruited a senior from Colusa High School, Kelsey Whiting. She serves as the California State President of the Future Business Leaders of America, which focuses on giving students leadership experience while preparing them for a career. Outside of FBLA, Kelsey has turned her passion for photography into her own business. I'm happy this exceptional young woman is here today to lead us in the pledge. Please welcome Kelsey Whiting.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. Please place your right hand over your heart and salute for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Kelsey, thank you. And again, our thanks to the California Joint Color Guard, U.S. Air Force Band of the Golden West Sierra Winds, and Paul Benavides. The Reverend Dr. Samuel Gordon will give this morning's invocation. Dr. Gordon is an educator and an ordained minister at Capital Christian Center and Executive Vice President of Capital Bible College. He currently serves as Culture and Diversity Pastor for the Juvenile Justice Chaplaincy Program, serving at-risk youth. Married for 47 years, Dr. Samuel and Linda Gordon have 3 adult children and 6 grandsons. I'd like to call Dr. Gordon to give the invocation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a privilege and an honor that you've given me to give the invocation at this amazing host breakfast. It's always important when we talk about unity, and I've always said we are better together. Let's pray. Dear God, thank you for this amazing opportunity that we work together, that we come together to be the best version of ourselves. Thank you that you are able to bring hope through even the toughest of times, strengthening us for your purposes. Thank you for your great love and care. Thank you for your mercy and grace. Thank you that you are always with us and will never leave us. Thank you for your incredible sacrifice so that we might have freedom and life. Forgive us when we don't thank you enough for who you are and for all you do and for all you have given. Help us to set our eyes and our hearts on you afresh. Renew our spirits. Fill us with your peace and joy. Build in us all a deep respect for one another so that we might be one. We pray for hope. Come stir your hope within our hearts and renew our faith. We pray for vision. May your vision fill our lives as we seek to reveal your love. Inspire us to live in such a way that our choices each day and our commitment to live in a positive way may transform the negative into something positive and the ordinariness of daily life into something extraordinary. Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, "Oh, that you would bless me and enlarge my border, and that your hand might be with me, and that you would keep me from harm so that it might not harm me." And God granted what he asked. We love you. We need you. This day and every day, we give you praise and thanks, for you alone are worthy. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Gordon.
Thank you so much.
This breakfast involved months of planning, and although I'm not able to recognize each member in person, I'm so grateful for the hard work of our host committee. Here's a snapshot of committee members at a recent Zoom meeting, along with a list of current members. I hope you enjoyed those pictures. Our committee members are community leaders dedicated to enriching and influencing our region. One such individual was a colleague and friend. He was a member of the Cal Chamber Board of Directors from 2004 to 2018 and the Sacramento Host Committee from 2004 until his passing last year. We have a brief video in memory of Mike Ziegler of Pride Industries.
The host committee wishes to recognize the incredible life and contributions of Mike Ziegler, founder of Pride Industries. Mike is remembered as a business leader who built a company that became the leading employer of people with disabilities in America. Mike was much more than a business leader. He was in the business of changing lives for the better.
Morning, Alan. We take people that our society does not know how to employ, and we give them these great jobs. And what we all know who work at Pride, people with disabilities can accomplish anything. Pride is number one. Right on, right on. Right on. Well, the favorite part of my job is interacting with people who work at Pride. The longer I'm at Pride, the less I think I understand, or any of us understands, about the power of a job for somebody who typically is not going to get a job. It is fun, huh? They're life-changing. And that's pretty powerful stuff. Charlie's 14-year anniversary. He's worked at Pride for 14 years. It happens on Sunday. Thank you. Have a great day.
We all miss Mike, but his generous spirit lives on through the employees of Pride, for whom he did so much, and in the lives of all he touched. You can see all the current and past committee members on the Sacramento Host Committee website at sacramentohostcommittee.com. On behalf of the Host Committee, a big thank you to our breakfast co-sponsor, the California Chamber of Commerce, led by President Alan Zarenberg and Donna Lucas, Chair of the Cal Chamber Board of Directors. You're going to be hearing more about Donna later in today's program, and you can see the names of her colleagues on the Cal Chamber Board on the website at calchamber.com. As many of you know, we typically present the host breakfast to a sellout crowd in Sacramento. Besides being treated to breakfast, attendees take home the fruits and vegetables which serve as table decorations, which are a beautiful display of California's colorful bounty that's the envy of other states. Although we only have this beautiful photo to entice you this year, I want to welcome over 1,400 of you watching today. The business leaders of California, along with legislators, state cabinet members, department directors, city county leaders, plus our friends from the International Consular Corps representing over 30 California trading partners. Thank you for taking the time to join us. For those of you who are attending for the first time, I'd like to share a little bit of our history. Bear with me, because I think you'll notice some real similarities. History tends to repeat itself, It was 1926, and Sacramento banker Fred Kiesel brought a group of state leaders together to find common ground on issues important to the economy. He was also regional vice president of the California Development Association, a forerunner to the Cal Chamber. The breakfast covered subjects such as the shifting makeup of the state's economy, regional differences, and that never-ending search for a balanced budget. Does that sound familiar? Mr. Kiesel hosted these breakfasts for the next 6 years with the help of Sacramento business leaders serving as vice chairs. And then in 1933, they formed a 15-person committee to carry on the objectives of the breakfast. As you can imagine, that year, the topic on everyone's mind was the Great Depression, with 200 people in attendance. In 1935, then Governor Frank Merriam became the first California governor to speak at the breakfast, starting a tradition that continues to this day. You know, even the outbreak of World War II didn't interrupt the breakfast, and the tradition continued for over 9 decades. And then came the coronavirus, and life ground to a halt. That stay-at-home order last spring was an effort to keep healthcare workers and hospital ICUs from being overwhelmed by critically ill COVID patients. You know, right off the bat, it became apparent that COVID affects our bodies differently, much like it does our businesses. For some, there might be no visible effect, and for others, it's deadly. California's small businesses, the lifeblood of a robust economy, have been especially hard hit. My business, the Sacramento Rivercats Baseball Club, was among those first to close and last to open. Our last home game was in September of 2019. Our next home game at Sutter Health Park is just a week away on May 20th. And we've been out of business for 609 long days. Few businesses can survive after this long without revenue. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we owe an immense gratitude to all who have done their part in this heroic fight against the pandemic. A single handshake, a hug, you know, except for the people in our personal bubbles, touch was only a memory for many during COVID. For all the first responders, though, touching strangers, touching patients, was an essential part of the job. We give thanks to all first responders, nurses, doctors, healthcare workers, firefighters, police officers, sheriffs, all who set aside concerns for their own safety to help people in need. Today, we honor the California National Guard, and here's a look at all they do.
I'm Major General Laura Yeager, Commander of California Army National Guard and the 40th Infantry Division. Our oath is to the state and nation. Our birth was in 1636, and it predates the establishment of the United States of America. We are over 20,000 strong, with skills ranging from linguistics to logistics, medical to military police, artillery to aviation, infantry, intelligence, and special forces. We deploy to support federal requirements to secure the peace at home and abroad, and we serve here in the state. Fires, floods, earthquakes, civil unrest. When it's a crisis, it's us you will see. We support civilian authorities. We bring our military experience training, and equipment, combined with our civilian acquired skills to help our friends, neighbors, classmates, and coworkers on their worst day. During the pandemic response, our soldiers and airmen, alongside our community partners, distributed tens of millions of meals throughout the state to Californians in need. We will respond to wildland fires across the state, and our counter-drug operations have helped interdict nearly $500 million worth of dangerous drugs and kept them off the street. We don't know what the future holds. Pandemic response may continue indefinitely. We do know that there will be global climate change impacts, and there are near-peer competitors that our nation will have to be prepared to defend the country against. But in the National Guard, we're always ready, we're always there.
With us in the studio today are two National Guard servicemen who put their lives on the line for California over the past year. Specialist Charles Paglia of the California Army National Guard, please join me on stage. Welcome, Specialist Paglia is from San Jose, and since last April has been on continuous duty as a member of several regional medical strike teams, deploying medical facilities throughout our state. In skilled nursing facilities, he comforted residents who hadn't seen their families for months because of the pandemic. His concern for his patients gave many the will to live, significantly improving their chances of surviving. Specialist Paglia also brought relief to medical professionals he supported. He regularly helped overworked nursing staff treat COVID patients in the surgical, neuro, and coronary intensive care units. After serving for months in hospitals and skilled nursing facilities, Specialist Paglia helped administer vaccinations at Zuckerberg General Hospital in San Francisco. He risked his own health, going above and beyond to save lives, and is a credit to the California Army National Guard and the Army Medical Corps. Thank you, Specialist Paglia. Next, I'd like to ask Technical Sergeant Richard Shank to join us on stage. It's great having you here. Tech Sergeant Shank will soon deploy to Afghanistan, but it thrills us he can be here today. Originally from Las Vegas, Nevada, Tech Sergeant Shank served selflessly in California during multiple emergency operations last year. He provided around-the-clock intelligence for CAL FIRE during last year's record-setting wildfire season, saving lives by identifying trapped victims and alerting ground crews. He volunteered for food bank operations in Los Angeles, and he and his team worked 2,500 hours providing more than 1 million pounds of food to families in need. They also helped the LA Coroner's Office process casualties of the pandemic and supported law enforcement to ensure peaceful protest following the George Floyd killing. Tech Sergeant Shank's commitment to helping others is why the California Air National Guard continues to make a difference. A special thank you to Specialist Paglia and Tech Sergeant Shank for your courage and selfless service. Okay. Next, I'd like to introduce Donna Lucas, this year's chair of the Cal Chamber Board and CEO and president of Lucas Public Affairs. With over a 30-year career, Donna has earned praise for her thoughtful and timely advice on the major policy challenges facing our state. Her success as a communications consultant and businesswoman reflects her experience. A partial list, and folks, I mean a partial list of the positions she's held, includes California Press Secretary for George H.W. Bush's presidential campaign, Deputy State Treasurer, Deputy Press Secretary for Governor George Deukmejian, Deputy Chief of Staff to Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Chief of Staff to First Lady Maria Shriver. She also chairs Maria Shriver's Women's Alzheimer's Movement. And next year, she will chair the College Futures Foundation. As you can see, Donna is busy. Donna may look familiar to you as she was the chair of the host committee in 2018 and emceed this very event only a few years ago. Please welcome my friend and the 2021 chair of the California Chamber Board of Directors, Donna Lucas.
Thank you, my friend Susan. I'm honored to serve as the chair of the Board of Directors for the California Chamber of Commerce, and I'm happy to be with all of you here this morning. I'd also like to recognize all the small businesses with us today. You might be surprised to learn that 71% of Cal Chamber's members have 100 employees or less. And Governor Newsom just proclaimed May as Small Business Month, and that's certainly worth celebrating. I've built 3 successful businesses over the last 30 years, all of which center around storytelling. Over the years, I've worked for presidents, governors, constitutional officers, as well as hundreds of mission-driven organizations, government agencies, and businesses large and small. And I can't emphasize enough the value and importance of telling your story. Ultimately, knowing what the story is and sharing it, both inside and outside of your organization, is what creates and sustains success. Like the Cal Chamber, my public affairs firm represents a diverse groups of businesses from all sectors of our economy: energy, tourism, entertainment, education, healthcare, technology, and agriculture, just to name a few. And like the Chamber, we help businesses tell their unique stories, and in doing so, make it easier for them to navigate California's complex regulatory and legislative landscapes. The story of any business isn't simply the net earnings line at the bottom of a financial statement. The real story is about families achieving their goals, kids reaching their potential, building communities, collaboration, creativity, inventiveness, gumption, dedication, and inclusion. We provide livelihoods for millions and strengthen communities in every region of the state. We supply goods and services, support nonprofits and charities, and we're training the next generation of California's workforce. These stories, our stories, your stories, need to be told so that the value is understood and appreciated. As we all know, this is a unique time in our state's history. The last 14 months have been especially difficult and in some cases devastating for the state's business community, especially the 4.1 million small businesses, of which about 1/3 are minority owned. Many small businesses continue to struggle daily to make ends meet. Some have been forced to close their doors on their businesses and on their dreams. The good news is we are turning the corner and the Golden State is coming back. And I'm proud to say the Cal Chamber has played a key role in helping state small business community get back on their feet. As I mentioned earlier, 71% of the Cal Chamber members have 100 or fewer employees. Nearly 20% of the Chamber member businesses are owned by women, and more than 1/3 are minority owned. This diversity is growing, and that makes our state even stronger. During the pandemic, Many businesses have turned to the Cal Chamber for help on everything from navigating COVID-19 protocols and regulations to information on PPP loans to managing their now remote workforce. Our helpline was literally a lifeline for thousands of California businesses. So for nearly 100 years, the Cal Chamber has been a champion of the state's innovators, entrepreneurs, and problem solvers. The State Chamber amplifies our stories so they can be more easily heard. And because of the effectiveness of our team at the Cal Chamber has a 97% success rate in helping members achieve their legislative goals. In the 2020 legislative session, only one of the 19 job killer bills made it into law. Although California is coming back, there's still some serious challenges ahead as we work to fully reopen our economy by this summer. The pandemic has devastated our vibrant tourism and hospitality industry, costing us more than 500,000 jobs. We need to reinvest in that industry. Drought conditions are always a blow to California agriculture. And part of that story is when California farmers suffer, so does the rest of the world, which depends on our fruits, nuts, and vegetables. About 95% of California farms are family-owned. Extreme heat and aging power systems throughout the state may continue to plague our communities with rolling blackouts that turn off the switch on consumer spending, force businesses like neighborhood grocery stores and restaurants to close, and leave large manufacturers or technology companies with no option but to shut down, disrupting businesses and displacing workers. With California's economic recovery on its way, now is not the time to further test the resilience of California businesses with excessive new taxes and regulations that do more harm than good. So, if we tell these stories, our stories, then it's more likely action will be taken to address some of these difficult issues to advance planning and investment in our infrastructure, both physical and social. Major employers and small businesses are important voices that legislative members and lawmakers need to hear. These voices offer a practical perspective on abstract policy issues, and they are the voices of California, because one of the greatest things about our businesses is they reflect our state's unique diversity. I would guess few policymakers have ever signed the front of a paycheck. Do they understand the pressure of bottom lines and profit margins? Do they understand meeting a payroll or accommodating the needs of employees and still cover the monthly bills? I know that if more businesses successfully explain their essential role in fueling the California dream, there will be more creative thinking about fostering a business climate in which innovation, initiative, and entrepreneurship flourish. One of our greatest challenges and our greatest opportunities is the retooling of our workforce for the jobs of the future. That requires a partnership with educators from kindergarten through graduate school. Companies are already taking aggressive steps to launch apprenticeship programs, support online learning, and engage in creative retention programs for workers at all levels. These are the kind of actions that help close the opportunity gap and create the kind of open and inclusive workforce needed for success in this century. I'm happy to say that U.S. President Michael Drake, California State University Chancellor Joseph Castro, and Community College Chancellor Eloy Oakley all sit on the California Chamber Board. It's collaboration with them and other education leaders that it will help us build this 21st century workforce. So our challenges notwithstanding, California continues to lead every other state in employment in manufacturing, tech, entertainment, biotech, and much more. Our exports in dairy products, fruits and nuts are greater than any other state, and we're home to some of the best companies who are pushing the envelope of possibility and inventing a better future. Now, that's a pretty compelling story. We have our challenges, but those challenges will be easier to surmount by working together and ensuring more Californians, especially lawmakers, hear the full and complete story of the real drivers of California's economy. Thank you, and I turn this back to my colleague, Susan.
Thank you, Donna, for leading the charge. We are so grateful to you and the Cal Chamber for your unwavering commitment to business in California. Companies, large and small, can always count on the Chamber as a valued partner, fostering growth and positive change in the lives of Californians. I think we could all agree we live in interesting times, and no one is more aware of that fact than our Governor, Gavin Newsom. Flooding, mudslides, fires, natural disasters of every kind, and then came COVID. California was the first state in the country to issue a stay-at-home order. A tough call at the time that saved countless lives. He updated us daily on the pandemic while working to keep our economy afloat. It's been a mega test of crisis leadership, and the governor has been equal to the challenge. Joining us live via Zoom, here's the Chief Executive of our Golden State, Governor Gavin Newsom.
Thank you to Donna for her remarks just a moment ago, to each and every one of you that are assembled here virtually at this remarkable moment, this remarkable hinge moment in California history, for that matter, American history. I'm going to try to sort of bring to light some of the more extraordinary and positive signs of not only recovery, but of optimism that I see all up and down the state, because I've had the privilege over the course of the last number of months to be in every part of California. In fact, just this week, I had the privilege of launching a $100 billion commitment to get our economy not back, but come roaring back. We talked about this $100 billion plan to transform the state of California, a strategy that is bolstered by the fact that the state of California is enjoying a $75.7 billion operating surplus. I'll just repeat that because it deserves to be repeated. It's never been stated or said by any governor in American history, let alone California history, a $76 billion operating surplus in the state of California. And that doesn't even include the close to $27 billion that we'll be receiving from the federal government. All told, $100+ billion opportunity to reimagine, reinvigorate this state's economy and get people back on their feet, particularly those that have been disproportionately impacted by this pandemic. We launched it just a few days ago in the Bay Area, and we talked about the fact that we're not only enjoying record operating surplus, but we're going to enjoy record reserves. We're going to invest a record amount of money to paying down pension obligations. We paid off all of that wall of debt that Governor Brown talked about so many times at this chamber breakfast. We have been able to do things in terms of rainy day reserves and paying off deferrals and dealing with a lot of the mishigash in terms of budgeting and papering things over. And that's primarily because of each and every one of you. The fact that the state of California is roaring back is because of each and every one of you. It's the resilience of our small businessmen and women. It's the resilience of those that put everything out on the line, make a go of it, that create the jobs and are the real economic engine of the prosperity that we're now enjoying in this state, despite all of those vexing issues, which Susan and Donna laid out appropriately in detail, all those pre-existing conditions that we have to manage as it relates to the issues of affordability, housing, homelessness, and all of those challenges. But we are up to the challenge, and that's why we talk in terms of roaring back. Why wouldn't we? February, you saw the February job numbers. The United States of America, we saw big job numbers in February, March. I'll talk about April in a moment, but 41% of America's jobs came from the state of California, 41%. in February. 275,000 jobs have been created in the state of California in February and March. That's not coming back, that's roaring back. Yes, April numbers were sobering nationwide. I imagine they will be represented in our numbers that come out very, very shortly. But nonetheless, we are seeing progress. And we're seeing progress because we've seen tremendous progress on tamping down the transmission of this virus. 1.1% positivity today. I'm on the lowest case rates in America. I'm on the lowest positivity rates in America. I'm on the highest vaccine rates in the world. 33 million doses have been administered. Over 33 million doses of vaccines have been administered in the state of California. Only 5 nations in the world have administered more doses. And yes, we are experiencing what other states are experiencing, and that is a modest decline, not an acute or steep decline, but a modest decline in people accessing these vaccines. We have a lot more work to do. But if we continue down this path, 2+ million doses administered in the last 7 days, we continue down this path, we'll move beyond the blueprint. No one happier than I am to move beyond the blueprint. No longer talking purple or red or orange or yellow terms, move beyond the blueprint in just a few weeks. June 15th, around the corner, but we still have work to do. This virus is stubborn. It's not taking the week off, won't take the summer months off. We have work to do, but I want to just acknowledge the extraordinary work that has been done, to thank the chamber and the board for their partnerships with businesses large and small all up and down the state to address the issue of hesitancy, to address the issues that will present themselves now of abundance and that hesitancy now obviously continuing to mask some of the equity issues that also need to be addressed and advance. Speaking of addressing and advancing a cause that I hope we all hold dear in terms of the cause that unites us, California, we're talking about making investments, historic investments across the spectrum to solve some of these stubborn and vexing challenges that this state faces, those challenges laid out by both Susan and Donna just moments ago. We just announced a $12 billion commitment on homelessness. We announced a firm commitment with an actual strategy and plan to end family homelessness in the state of California. We launched a commitment to clean the state up. The state's too damn dirty. The freeways, entrances, and exits are major thoroughfares in this state. You see it, I see it, we all see it. We see not just the graffiti, but we see mattresses thrown on the sides of the freeways. 2 years ago, the entire state budget to clean up the state, litter, for the entire state, when I got here, just 2 years ago, it was $60 million. We just announced $1.5 billion commitment to not only clean up the litter, but to beautify these thoroughfares in the state, to get artists and bring a sense of community, brings of pride and place back into the work that Caltrans is doing. Also, it's an incredible jobs opportunity. 15,500 jobs are part of that proposal. We want to get that money moving and get those dollars out there right away. We have to deal with encampments. We've got to deal with chronic single adults that are out there, duly diagnosed, self-medicating with drug and alcohol addictions. We've got to rebuild our mental health system. And we have resources to do it. We have plans to do it. I'm standing in Ronald Reagan's old office. We could talk about the way things used to be in the 50s, early 60s. We could talk about what happened in the late 60s and 70s and the dismantling of our behavioral health system. We're making historic investments to begin to rebuild that system. Billions and billions of dollars, intensive services and board and care home expansions, opportunity for more conservatorships, but opportunities for intensive opportunities to get people back on their feet and moving again. $7 billion of new opportunities to convert hotels and motels, to do it in real time like we did with Project Homekey. 6 months, 6,000 housing units, 6 months, 6,000 units under Homekey. We're not doubling down on that. It was an $846 million commitment that we advanced, brought those units into escrow, got people off the streets, off the sidewalks, into those units. We're doing a $3.5 billion proposal with the legislature to not, again, double down on that, but to exponentially increase that very successful now national model, Project Homekey. We committed to protecting renters, $5.2 billion we are proposing to help renters pay off 100% of their debt. That helps every landlord that's watching as well. stabilizing the stress and anxiety that is obviously universal in this state around housing anxiety and security because of this pandemic-induced recession. $2 billion to pay down utilities and gas and water bills. Another deep anxiety for so many families, so many of your employees and workers, many of you that are watching as well. $5.1 billion to address this issue of the drought, which is to me almost perennial. I mean, the exception was the last few years where we weren't in a drought, but having just come out of a 5-year drought and a couple years of some semblance of normalcy, here we are back in again, but this is different this time. Not only are we mindful of what we did right and wrong in 2012 to 2016, but we're building strategies and we're advancing those strategies with real resources. $5.1 billion deal with safe drinking water and to deal with conveyance and to deal with groundwater replenishment, recycling strategies across the spectrum, emergency supports, medium and long-term commitments of capital to address some of these systemic issues, because we have to redesign our system to a world that we're living in, not the world as it was a half century ago. We announced yesterday transformative investments in public education. I'm long public education. You're going to see tomorrow in the budget. Historic, I know it sounds like hyperbole, politicians always using those words, just objective truths. You're going to see a real strategy, a real plan. We previewed it yesterday. We're creating a whole new grade opportunity universally for every 4-year-old to get quality support and minimum 3 hours instructions by creating TK for all Californians. We actually have a strategy plan. We have the resources to do that. I was telling Governor Schwarzenegger's office how proud I was to actually make real Prop 49 in the After School for All initiative. We're going to fully fund After School for All. It never had happened. It was sort of a minimum commitment that was advanced through his hard work and leadership and the voters' support, but it was a ceiling, not just a floor in terms of the contribution. And we're going to blow that ceiling, and we're going to now move forward with full implementation. And that After School for All program also is before school. It's about extending learning time, extending opportunity for enrichment. We're also mindful that we need to be more mindful of people's stress. And that's why we also announced a $4 billion transformative proposal to deal with adolescent and mental health, 0 to 25, full screenings across the panoply for all of our youth to deal with their trauma and their stress and their depression. We're not playing small ball in any of these respects, and nor on the issue that drives the reason I was privileged to be invited here today, on the issue of small businesses. And as you all may know, many of you know, many of you don't know, it's a cause of my life. It's been my life. I got into politics by way of small business. Opened my first small business, pen to paper, got 13 people, $7,500 each. They never thought they'd see the money again. One part-time employee, Pat Kelly, opened that small business, about 1,700 square foot small business. The warehouse was in my living room. I was the delivery boy, said back in 15 minutes when I had to deliver that wine. Did all the stocking, did everything, figured out how to fill out those damn sales tax forms and learned what depreciation schedules were and learned what a P&L versus a balance sheet was, the whole thing, just practical realities you deal with every single day, and made a go of it. And I've just deep reverence and respect for all of you that put everything on the line. It's about your lives, your family's lives. It's about your identity, your dignity. It's not about business in the context of P&Ls and just profit and loss. Moreover, it's about what makes this state great, that entrepreneurial spirit, that willingness for people to take extraordinary risks and create opportunities for the rest of us. I've had the privilege of growing that business. We had it peak before we sold a number of them, close to 1,000 employees, over 20 businesses. I say that to impress none of you, but to impress upon you my passion for entrepreneurialism and my deep reverence and respect. They were restaurants. Small businesses like small hotels intimately understand the pain and stress of the last year, directly understand it. And the struggle now to reopen with all of the dust settling around us and all the different rules and regulations, not just coming from the state, but each municipality up and down the state of California. And that's why we will announce tomorrow $4 billion. That's the total package of small business grants, not loans, grants. that we're providing small businesses. We're going to add another $1.5 billion to the extraordinary work that was done by the legislature. Thank you, Senator Caballero, among others that were real leaders in that grant program. We're going to build off that by doubling down on our Cal Competes grants. We're going to double the Cal Competes grants to get more competitive against other states, an additional $180 million ongoing. We're going to create a brand new grant program to address the opportunity for relocations of additional $250 million under the Cal Competes plan. We believe that those that retained employees and those that are out there hiring employees should be rewarded. And we have a payroll tax called the Main Street Hiring Tax credit that provides $1,000 per employee, up to $100,000 in some cases for businesses. And we are putting another $100 million into that program. I was talking to the Lieutenant Governor. She chairs State Lands Commission. She talks about the importance of investing in our ports, putting $250 million to invest in our ports that have lost tremendous amount of revenue and need to be more competitive in terms of their positioning to the world around us. The opportunity, and I heard it a moment ago from Donna, to do more to support Visit California and to do more to support our hospitality industry to get back up on their feet. Thanks to Senator McGuire, thanks to Sharon Quick Silva, thank you to Lieutenant Governor, among others. We're putting $95 million, almost $100 million to Visit California to help with their promotion and to help with their marketing of the world's greatest brand, California, as part of our comeback, part of our roaring back strategy. We're going to do more in terms of making available credit. You're going to see tomorrow on the budget, $895 million for new credit enhancements for small businesses. You're going to see additional money for people that fall through the cracks, these seed grants of $10,000 for people, regardless of their immigration status, others that may not have credit worthiness or may not have access to checking savings. I mean, all of that, we're creating new programs, tens of millions of dollars in that space across the spectrum, even an increase in the film tax credit for those that are curious. Be more competitive, bring back, especially, I mean, we're going, Georgia, we're not going to be passive anymore. You know, we talk about roaring back, it means we got to step up our game across the spectrum. That's what this proposal is all about. And by the way, you know, for all the haters out there, with all due respect, 99 IPOs, eat your heart out, 99 IPOs year to date, 99 in the state of California, dominated last year, dominated yet again in venture capital, more than New York, more than Texas, more than Massachusetts, combined by double. That's California, record-breaking venture capital last year in the state of California. Once again, you saw the Bloomberg Index, the #1 most innovative state in America, the state of California. More startups in this state this year to date than any other state in the country. You know, it's just remarkably, we've developed a little amnesia. You know, before the pandemic, we were averaging over a 5-year period, 3.9% GDP growth, knocking the doors out. No one came close. Florida didn't come close. Texas didn't come close. The United States government didn't come close. We were even at 3.4% the year prior to the pandemic, better than those states. Still, we are roaring back. California's entertainment industry, tech industry, biotech, Donna mentioned this a moment, manufacturing, #1 in manufacturing jobs and manufacturing output, 35,000 headquartered manufacturing companies, state of California. Agriculture, please, no one comes close in terms of the work that's done in the fields every single day. And this state's a point of deep pride, ag, and what we're able to export to the rest of the world. You're seeing the merger, combinatorial nature of technology and entertainment. You're seeing that reflected in Apple TV, not just Netflix. You're seeing it in Disney Plus, Hulu. Who's going to dominate that? California is dominating that. All of these creative industries, no one comes close to the state of California. You don't take my word for it. Look at Fortune, fastest growing companies in the world. California dominated. They just had headlines, the top 100 fastest growing companies in the world. How about this? The most influential companies in the world, Time Magazine, close to half were in the state of California that were identified as United States-based companies. So don't believe all those headlines of people that have been trying to take us down for decades. Someone described it like hating on the Yankees or something. That's sort of the attitude people have about California. But with all due respect, man, we are at a whole another place and opportunity. Deal with that homeless issue, deal with this housing issue, deal with affordability, start cleaning the streets up, get serious about reimagining, transforming public education, and invest in that conveyor belt for talent. Nothing else like it on planet Earth. UCs, CSUs, and our community college system. Tune in tomorrow at the budget, and you're going to see unprecedented investments in that space. That's part of this remarkable comeback that is California. I'll just close with a few additional points. I'm very mindful, and I'm reminded of this every day with my extraordinary wife, got 4 young kids, that this pandemic has not impacted all of you equally. And I'm very mindful that it's impacted disproportionately women. And that's why I'm also proud in this budget. Got lost. We announced it on Mother's Day. It seemed the right thing to do on Sunday. But we're going to expand childcare, which is economic development. Chambers would be the biggest proponent of childcare expansion to help these small businesses. And that's 100,000 new childcare slots. That's also part of this budget. We're going to go after that SALT deduction. Don't think we're passive on SALT. I know some of you are like, what's he talking about? A lot of you are like shaking your head right now. We actually have a partial SALT fix. Tune in tomorrow for primarily S Corps. We're working on LLCs as well. $12 billion, biggest tax rebate California history. We announced that this week. Everybody earning up to $75,000, those that have been disproportionately impacted by this pandemic, you're going to get direct stimulus checks over the next number of weeks. So you got kids, back to a children's agenda, mothers, we're going to add an additional $500 to those stimulus checks. The biggest tax break was just advanced. Thank you to leaders like, Autumn Burke for the work on PPP. Again, not everybody knows what PPP is. Those of you that got that loan are very satisfied with that $6.2 billion tax break that the state of California advanced, which we also think is not insignificant. Look, I can go on and on. It's pretty obvious I don't have a teleprompter here or prepared remarks, but I hope it's also obvious that I'm long California. I love this place, care deeply about it. It's deep pride in California. People want to take cheap shots, but we're going to push back. People think our best days are behind it. You're full of it. You have no idea what this state represents and what it's going to represent to the rest of the world over the course of the next 10 years, 20, 30, 40 years. Roaring back. That's California. That's California dream. We're going to make it alive and well for everyone. Growth and inclusion. Don't think we're not mindful of the challenges. Don't think we're not up to solving those challenges. I hope you'll tune in tomorrow, learn more about our strategies and our plans, and give me an opportunity, not just now in closing, but also tomorrow to thank each and every one of you. I am mindful. All of this has happened because of you, your hard work, your resilience, and I'm mindful of all the stress and fear, all that anxiety that you and all of us have had to work through and weather over the last year. We talk about light at the end of the tunnel. Final words. I don't see light at the end of the tunnel. I see bright light at the end of the tunnel. California is coming roaring back. Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much, Governor, for your leadership as we continue to work our way back to normalcy. Before we sign off, I want to thank Sacramento Media Center. Their production and camera work allowed us to bring you this virtual event today. And thank you also to Illuminate Production Services for their stage design. On behalf of the host committee and California Chamber of Commerce, thank you for joining us for this virtual host breakfast. I encourage you to take the quick survey that will appear on your Zoom screen immediately after this event ends. And if you haven't already, please get your vaccine. Let's get this virus under control, and we'll see you in person next year. Thank you.